In the infinite expanse of the cosmos, where stars were born and galaxies danced to the rhythm of time, two of the most powerful beings in existence found their paths inexorably intertwined. One was the embodiment of scientific omnipotence, the other a primordial force of cosmic hunger. This is the story of how Dr. Manhattan and Galactus, the Devourer of Worlds, came to face each other in an epic collision that threatened the balance of the universe itself.
Are you just watching?
Subscribe, please.
A universe on the brink began with the slow, silent death of a distant star system. Galactus, the colossal entity whose appetite for planetary life was both a curse and necessity, had descended upon the system like an unrelenting storm. His world ship, Tar-2, cast an imposing shadow across the void, its presence a harbinger of doom for any who dared oppose him. Yet the inhabitants of this star system were not ordinary mortals. They were the Kheran, an advanced civilization that had reached the pinnacle of universal knowledge. As Galactus began to consume their planets, the Kheran deployed their ultimate, contingency, a distress signal sent across the multiverse, seeking aid from any being capable of halting the cosmic apocalypse. The signal traversed realities, reaching realms beyond mortal comprehension. It reached Earth, and with it, the blue glow of an omniscient being flickered to life. Dr. Manhattan's contemplation on Mars, where he often retreated to ponder the intricacies of existence. Dr. Manhattan, a man transcended into godhood, perceived the Kheran's plea. With a wave of his hand, he analyzed their predicament, observing Galactus through space and time. To halt him, Manhattan mused, is to interfere in the natural order of existence. But to do nothing is to allow the extinction of knowledge, life, and potential. He stood, his luminous form radiating calm yet incomprehensible power. For Dr. Manhattan, decisions were not bound by morality or emotion. They were equations of balance and consequence. And in this instance, the scales tipped toward intervention. The meeting of giants Manhattan did not arrive in Galactus's path with the fanfare of a hero. Instead, he appeared quietly, materializing within the void, his glowing blue form dwarfed by Galactus's towering presence. The Kheran watched from their remaining planets, hope mingling with dread as the two entities regarded one another. Galactus, his voice resonating like the echo of collapsing stars, spoke first. "Who dares interrupt the hunger of Galactus? I am not here to stop your hunger," Dr. Manhattan replied, his tone devoid of fear or malice. "I am here to understand it." Galactus tilted his immense head, intrigued by this response. Few dared approach him with anything other than defiance. "You are no mere mortal. Speak your purpose, for my hunger grows." Manhattan raised a glowing hand, and in an instant, images of Galactus's origins filled the void. His transformation from the mortal Galen into the cosmic force he had become. "You are a fragment of the universe's will, as am I," Manhattan stated. "But where your existence consumes, mine creates. Perhaps we are two sides of the same equation." The challenge, Galactus's eyes burned with cosmic energy. "You claim understanding, yet you stand in my way. Do you seek to test your power against mine?" Manhattan's gaze remained steady. "This is not a test of power. It is a question. Can one who consumes worlds be persuaded to spare them, if given an alternative?" The Kheran, observing from their dying worlds, saw a flicker of hesitation in Galactus. But the cosmic entity's hunger was insatiable, and he declared, "There is no alternative to the sustenance I require. If you wish to protect these worlds, you must face me." Dr. Manhattan sighed, as though the outcome of this confrontation was already known to him. "Then let it be so. Not for the Kheran, not for their planets, but for the answer to a greater question." And with that, The stage was set for an unprecedented clash between two entities who transcended the boundaries of space and time. One, a harbinger of destruction; the other, a creator of infinite possibilities. As Galactus prepared to unleash his cosmic might, and Dr. Manhattan's form began to shimmer with unfathomable energy, the universe itself seemed to hold its breath. The void between galaxies was torn apart as two godlike beings prepared to engage in a battle that would reshape the fabric of reality. Galactus, the Devourer of Worlds, loomed colossal and imperious, his presence a gravitational well of destruction. Opposite him stood Dr. Manhattan, a glowing figure of serenity, his power rooted in quantum mastery. As they faced each other, the cosmos quivered. This was no ordinary confrontation. It was a clash of fundamental forces: creation versus consumption, existence versus entropy. Galactus raised his hand, summoning his power cosmic. Beams of blinding energy shot forth, capable of annihilating stars. The void trembled as the beams surged toward Dr. Manhattan. Without flinching, Manhattan raised his own hand. The energy beams slowed, then froze mid-flight. With a subtle gesture, he deconstructed them into their base particles, dispersing them harmlessly. "Your power is immense," Manhattan said calmly, "but it is bound by the rules of this universe." "I am not," Galactus growled, the force of his frustration echoing across dimensions. He raised both hands, summoning a storm of cosmic energy so vast it eclipsed entire solar systems. This time, Manhattan did not merely deflect the attack. Instead, he stepped forward, his body glowing brighter. With a wave of his hand, Dr. Manhattan manipulated the flow of time around Galactus. The great devourer staggered as his own movements became erratic, one moment speeding up, the next slowing to a crawl. Galactus roared, exerting his will to break free from the temporal disturbance. "You seek to bind me with tricks," Galactus declared, his voice a thunderclap. "But I am eternal." Dr. Manhattan tilted his head, as though observing a phenomenon, with detached curiosity. "Eternity is a matter of perception," he replied. With another gesture, he began dismantling Galactus's armor, molecule by molecule. Pieces of the Devourer's iconic helmet and plating disintegrated, revealing the raw, pulsating energy of his true form. Enraged, Galactus unleashed his ultimate weapon, a torrent of energy drawn directly from the heart of the power cosmic. The blast was so immense, it obliterated nearby celestial bodies, reducing them to cosmic dust. This time, Manhattan did not evade or deflect. Instead, he allowed the energy to strike him. The Kheran, watching from their last surviving planet, gasped in despair as the blue figure disappeared in a blinding explosion of light. For a moment, silence reigned. Galactus, breathing heavily, surveyed the void. "It is done," he declared. "Another challenger falls before my hunger." But then the light began to coalesce. From the center of the explosion, Dr. Manhattan reappeared, entirely unharmed. His form shimmered with an intensity that dwarfed even Galactus's grandeur. "You misunderstand," Manhattan said, his voice now resonating across the cosmos. "I am not bound by the concepts of life or death. You, however, are bound by hunger. Let us test the limits of your existence." With a gesture, Dr. Manhattan reached into Galactus's very being, not his body, but the essence of his hunger. He began to rewrite the fabric of the Devourer's nature, severing his insatiable need to consume planets. Galactus roared in agony, his immense power faltering as the hunger that defined him was stripped away. "You cannot take this from me," Galactus bellowed, but it was too late. The light within him dimmed, his vast form shrinking as his essence was fundamentally altered. As the process completed, Galactus collapsed, no longer the Devourer of Worlds, but a being devoid of purpose. He floated in the void, weakened and silent. Dr. Manhattan observed the now defeated Galactus with neither triumph nor regret. "You were a force of nature, but even nature evolves," he said. With a flick of his hand, he sent Galactus drifting into the farthest reaches of space, a husk of his former self. Turning his attention to the Kheran, Manhattan restored their ravaged planets with a thought. "Your plea was answered, but at a cost to the balance of this universe," he said, his voice carrying both reassurance and warning. "Be mindful of the power you summon." And with that, Dr. Manhattan dissolved into particles of light, leaving the cosmos to ponder the ramifications of his actions. The universe had witnessed the defeat of Galactus, not through brute force, but through the rewriting of existence itself. For the first time, the Devourer of Worlds had been decisively defeated by the omniscient hand of Dr. Manhattan.